Here we go. Thank
Okay.
you, everybody, and welcome to the International Euphonium Summit Living History Series with our cohort member and their first in series, Kevin Day. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello, hello. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. If you guys haven't had the opportunity to go check out the podcast, we'll leave the link down below at internationaleuphoniumsummit.com/Kevin-Day or even at farmfordreams.com. And we'll put the podcast links to your favorite listening app or platform soon enough. Thank you for joining us, Kevin.
Yes, yes. It's an honor to be here, and yeah, just really appreciate the invitation. So
Oh,
glad to be here.
absolutely. With the magnitude of our cohort and their awards, their conglomerations, and everything, it just blows my mind every single morning and every time I go to sleep. The magnitude of our cohort, including yourself. I mean, to even know that there's a Pulitzer Prize for music and you were nominated for that, it just like what's what's the epitome, what's the goal, what's the reach if that's possible and you're achieving that at such an amazing level, like our cohorts and like the students that we're going to bring on who come
Hmm.
to get that instruction or those musical compositions, like I was saying,
Yeah, yeah.
from yourself or from any of our other cohort members. Wow. We're in for a treat, y'all. Uh, let's just dive in. I can't wait. So tell us
Yeah.
about Kevin Day and your upbringing, first recollections of music.
Yeah, sure thing. So, I grew up in a very musical household. Actually, both of my parents are musicians. My my dad was a hip hop producer in Southern California for many years in the 80s and the 90s. And my mom was a gospel singer from West Virginia. My dad was also from West Virginia, but of course, I mean, he moved out to California and then came back to West Virginia, which is where he met my mom. And so he later became a gospel producer, recording artist, and all of that. And so, my earliest recollections of music were my dad making music at home or just playing music around the house. I would remember him playing different tracks from Blackstreet or like from SWV, Soul for Real, Tupac, like all this like West Coast like music that he had learned and everything, and or working on projects, and then my mom playing different gospel recordings and all that at home, and so those were my earliest recollections were really through them, and so they would take me to their different practices that they would have in the choir, and so I'd be that kid just trying to hum along and sing to what's happening, and ultimately I did, which is how my parents kind of knew, like, oh wait, what's happening here? Because while they were singing, they would listen to me in the audience try to sing with them, and I could kind of match pitch with what they were doing. So I think at that point they had kind of known that music was something that I had this like natural curiosity towards. Um, and so as I got older, I mean that took form in many ways. I rhythm was what came to me first. So I would be taking drumsticks and then like hitting pots and pans at home and things like that. So I first began actually playing drums. Believe it or not, drums was like my first instrument. But then the piano was really what I gravitated towards at the age of 9. Drums I began playing when I was about 7 years old, and so piano when I began that at 9 was really what kind of drew me into like music and harmony and everything. And so my earliest memories were really of me like learning piano, mostly learning piano by listening to lots of things, watching YouTube videos, all that. And then my dad teaching me how to produce music, teaching me how to, basically giving me composition lessons as a young kid. Except he was just teaching me like, okay, this is how you make a beat. This is how you make a melody. This is how you make chords. This is how you make a bass line. And so kind of walking me through, very basic compositional tenets when I was very young. So ultimately that led,
I have a
yes,
question there, Kevin. So
yes.
with your dad being a hip hop producer and getting into gospel and such like that,
Mm.
did your parents ever kind of bring the kind of the moments back to where they saw you, or do you remember yourself of being in the production booth or the recording booth or
Yes.
on the mixing board?
Yes, my dad was also a sound engineer at the church I grew up in, and he still is even now. And so yes, I have many memories of me sitting back there with him while he was messing with the soundboard, and I would try to turn things up and down and all that. So
So
yes, I
would you
feel
say
lots of
that would be
memories.
your first instrument then? Is that mixing board?
Maybe it was the mixing board. Actually, yes, I think that's probably I was the mixing board, then drums, then piano, and then piano is ultimately what I continued with up until middle school, which is when I joined the band, and that's how I got on the euphonium. I actually originally wanted to be a saxophone player. Because of course I watched a bunch of movies, and of course I was like, okay, yeah, the saxophone is cool. We get to the tryout that they had for us, and they were like, well, we have too many people playing the saxophone, so we're gonna put you on a brass instrument. So I tried a bunch of brass instruments, and then I they had me buzz on a euphonium mouthpiece, and they're like, "That's pretty good buzz. We'll put you on that." And so
Not
that's how I
even
began playing
trombone.
the euphonium. So no, they
Not
didn't put
even
me on
trombone.
trombone. No, no, they saw me hold it because I was holding it very awkward, and they're like, "Okay, no, let's give you something else." So the euphonium felt right to me, and ultimately, that is how I fell in love with the instrument was playing in middle school. So
Okay, so you were born in West Virginia.
yes,
Okay, but you ended up moving to Texas, as we heard in the podcast form before this
hmm
video segment began. Um, so was that sixth grade middle school or seventh grade middle school?
seventh grade middle school. Yeah,
Okay,
so we moved to Texas. My parents moved to Texas when I was 1 years old. So they had me in West Virginia, moved to Texas, and so I basically grew up in Texas. And so yeah, when we that tryout that we had for instruments was in the sixth grade, which is elementary, and then middle school or junior high was seventh grade. So
okay. So
yes,
where in Texas, what middle school did you start music at?
yeah, I went to Bailey Junior High, which is in Arlington, Texas, and my band directors there were Pam Garman and Ken Calloway, and so those were my teachers. Uh, I believe Miss Garman at the time was a clarinet player, and Mr. Calloway is a trumpet player. So, being a brass instrument player, I worked a lot with him. So,
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so Arlington, uh, that was still pretty big back when you were starting school. So,
yes.
how many other baritones and euphoniums were next to you in beginning band in seventh grade?
Oh, at least like five. I can remember there like being five of us, and then when we got to Bailey, there were two groups actually. There was a top band, there was like a symphonic band and a concert band, and so in there was about three or four per group. So it was a fairly big brass group, I would say, when I was there. So
Okay, so in sixth grade, did they come out? Did those teachers, Pam and Ken, did they come out to the elementary school and do that petting
yes,
zoo type thing?
yeah. hmm
And did you see a euphonium there, or did was it just the mouthpiece?
I saw the euphonium there, but they had us try the mouthpieces out first and then put it on the horn. So I did get to hold it, but I saw it and I was like, this is a cool instrument. I don't know what it is, but I was like, whoa. So then they had me try it, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll play this. So yeah, so that's what happened. Yeah, they would go around to the surrounding elementary schools, and yeah.
Okay, so what was it like bringing that euphonium home, or even let's go even before that. What
Yeah.
was it like going home and telling your parents, "Hey, I tried out for the band today, and they put me on this instrument called euphonium."
My parents loved it at first. No, my dad was like the euphonium. Oh, he likes to make everything dramatic. So no, he loved it. And so what they didn't love was me practicing all the time. Because as soon as I got it, I just started playing as much as possible. And so it took a while for me to figure out a practice schedule that would work with everything else. But no, my parents loved that I chose the euphonium though, and I mean we're very supportive of that. So
So, did they? Did anyone in your family ever play brass instruments? Did they know
no,
euphonium? No.
no brass instruments in our family. No one ever played the euphonium. So it was just me just kind of doing that. And then, so I played that. And then my two younger sisters joined the band too. One of them played flute and one played French horn. Um, but yeah, no, we were the first ones to kind of do that in our family. So,
Awesome. So, with when did you first start kind of, and this is kind of jumping ahead now,
mhm,
and I'm just curious. Your dad's a hip hop producer, your mom sings gospel, and
mhm.
that's kind of combined. Do you, or have you reflected those elements of beat and rhythm within perhaps any of your past compositions, or would you like to incorporate more of that beginning, your origin, into works in the future?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so like I really for a while I kind of kept those two worlds very separate from each other. Like on the weekdays I was the euphonium player in band playing my music, and then on the weekends I was doing jazz and gospel music and everything with my parents.
See,
So every week I was doing these two different basically I was living two different lives, and these never really intersected, nor did I thought maybe they could until I got to college, until I got to university, and I was like, wait, I can actually put these things together and make something and blah blah blah. So that's when everything began to change when I got to much later, and so the piece where I did that, where it well kind of began that whole thing was Dancing Fire, which was the big kind of like my breakout wind band piece. Then I wrote another piece called Havana that was very similar to that. And then the one where it started to really creep in was actually the Euphonium Concerto, the one that I'm
yeah,
known for now was that piece. And then several years later, Concerto for Wind Ensemble being the most upfront in your face example. So it took me years to sort of figure out how I could blend these two worlds, because at first I just didn't know what to do with it, and then I'm like, well, wait, there are elements of this that I can use in this music, and so now I mean I do it naturally and freely. So it feels great to be able to bring these two worlds of mine together.
so that brings in, so I'm not going to give way to what we talked about in the podcast, because we have some really amazing opportunities
Mhm,
to really feature you and what's on the very near horizon, coming
mhm.
up with. Man, I don't want to spill the beans too much on that. Um, but we will cover that in the post segment as
Yes.
soon as we finish this on the first in living history series.
Mhm,
I want to thank you again for being open to doing this, to being part of our cohort, and sharing your journeys and experience. I mean, we're just getting into middle school or
yeah.
junior high, and bringing those experiences and your journey to to video format and to these podcasts and to the world. And I look forward to sharing even your second in series coming soon. Wow, y'all are in for a massive treat. Go find out more information. Check out the new blog posts. I was going to say blogcast. And sign up for those newsletters because they'll be in those newsletters coming soon. Go to internationaleuphoniumsummit.com/Kevin-Day or just internationaleuphoniumsummit.com. Click on his picture and it'll take you right to where all his information, all the latest blog posts and information. Man, thank you so much for coming on board and being part of this amazing journey, sharing your amazing journey together with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Catch you on the second in series next time. Bye, everyone.